and pick it up for you. And if you need a card, you can also wave and someone will pick it up. Questions were also submitted. Michael Barron, who's on the board of the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland, is screening the questions, looking for duplicates, and as I explained before. We did get some questions in email as advertised in the flyers for this candidates forum. So I'm going to start with a couple from the email ones. And I'm going to start with Ms. Bartos. And we'll go down the line, and the next question will start with Mr. Caruso. So there's a variety of people going first. Have you reviewed the recent master plan that was done for Brecksville? What strategies would you like to see implemented?
So I believe this is referring to...
Can you please use the microphone, please?
Yes.
Some folks in the back are having a hard time hearing. Thank you.
So I believe this is referring to the 2019 master plan, and I did review all 240-something pages in its entirety, so I'm digesting it currently. But I do think that there was great ideas about how we can do connectivity, how we can advertise to businesses to come here for our community for attraction of businesses, retention of businesses. There was a lot of good information in there, but the thing that gives me pause is that it was done 2019 before 2020, before COVID. So a lot of things have shifted since then. So I think we do need to reevaluate that and look at that with this ongoing view after COVID. Because I know from my real estate developmental background, we've had to do a shift. There's a shift in what kind of tenants go into buildings, what kind of real estate is attractive to... I'm sorry. I'm nervous too, I don't know why, but this 15 seconds is... You're done, right? Oh no. But yeah, I do think we need to look at it again and reevaluate it from a perspective as today.
Hi, I was actually a resident volunteer on the steering committee that went through that process. I grew up learning about the original master plan from my dad, who grew up here in Brecksville. There were elements that we definitely took to heart with that project. I think you see it with the Glenwood Trail project, where we've added sidewalks, and we're in the process of adding a multi-use trail that cuts across our property to Blossom. That's going to connect the Valley Parkway with 82. I think the grant money and the projects that are going to be happening over the next 2-3 years to extend sidewalks from Miller all the way down to Summit County line are all ways that we're improving connectivity. I think that was probably the best thing that came out of that process. There were definitely some things in the plans I didn't agree with. They seemed somewhat cookie cutter and not fitting with Brecksville and how we're organized and laid out. So it was a very educational experience. There were definitely some good ideas, and I think the proof is in the pudding when you look at the projects that are underway and planned for the immediate future, and I'm supporting those. Thank you.
I have looked at the master plan as well, and I do kind of agree with what Dominic said. I wish Brecksville would kind of come up with their own a little bit more, tweak it, make it more unique to what our needs are, what we feel we want. Since it did come from the county level, I do think that the connectivity is the part that could be definitely improved. We have some turns and corners in town that are a little bit unsafe for people to walk. I do see people walk. As an active runner, I've run through those and nearly been hit myself trying to dodge cars while staying safe. I do think that there's some things we can do to attract businesses. I work on the south end of town in my pharmacy. It's a nursing home skilled pharmacy, so no many signs, but we want a lot of stuff down there, like even some restaurants at Valley Acres when they go in, really nice, so that we can kind of serve up the business that we use and the business needs that we have for our employees. So with that, I do support a lot of the master plan. I do think that we need to make it Brecksville and make it our own so that we can really dial it in, especially with central schools being on the ballot. That could be rezoned and really shift what we actually need there.
Thanks. With respect to development in the city of Brecksville, the master plan is fine, but it's all on the execution of what we do from here on out. Having a chance to be on the planning commission, obviously the south end of town is being developed slowly, responsibly. There are many opportunities to make mistakes there by bringing in retail and its congestion, and the city wisely avoided that. Valley Acres is going to bring not only tax revenue, if you do the math, with 1,000 people, 2% taxes, that'll be some 2% or $2 million added to our revenue base of $48 million. It's also going to bring some much needed amenities to the south side of town. And most importantly, it's going to be able to help maintain the character of this town while improving the financial stability of the city by increasing tax revenues without increasing tax rates. Thank you.
The master plan is a great starting block for us. It was created by the county, which tends to have visions of higher density. Some of the suggestions I would not agree with in there were, for instance, they had suggested maybe having apartments in single-family units, and I don't think that that's something that Brecksville is ready for. We do have a mix of different housing options coming that will maybe counter that option. There were some options in there that I thought were good for Brecksville. One of those was the entry corridors. I really like the idea of, naming where the national park entry is, and it's a welcome to our community. I think something like that would be a great thing to take from the master plan. So there are parts that we can accept, and it does not need to be accepted in its whole entirety. So with that, I hope that we do continue with some of the good options in there. Thank you.
I'm afraid I might be a little redundant here, and I'm happy to hear that all the candidates have some agreement on the value of the master plan. It's a really fabulous document. It provides a lot of data so we can support our decisions for what projects from it we want to adopt into the future. Can be backed up with data from industry professionals and experts in their various fields. It's a great interdisciplinary document that allows us to make data-driven decisions. All right, is it meant to be gospel? Is it something we're supposed to follow to the T? No, it's meant to be a resource to help the leadership team, 4 of us in the future, in addition to those current on City Council, be able to pull from some data, look at how to redevelop Central School. What are the different ideas? What do the urban planning professionals suggest as things that will help us do that effectively? So it's not meant to be taken word for word and implemented every single element of it, but there's a lot of good data in there from industry professionals to help support us as we chart our path forward.
Okay, so Mr. Caruso, we'll start with this next question. What is your plan to boost economic development in Brecksville, especially downtown, with Central School property and other areas?
So I think that our current approach to economic development has been very effective. Again, we focused on trying to attract companies with significant payrolls. I think the things that we can do with Central School should be more centered around residential development, in my opinion. I think hiring Monica to help attract some of these small businesses to fill the 1 or 2 empty storefronts in the center of town is going to be an effective way to continue to grow economically with our downtown. I think the projects we're planning that will enhance connectivity with the park will also drive traffic towards our downtown. Our downtown right now tends to be well-traveled and well-visited. If you've ever been behind this parking lot getting lunch on a Tuesday, sometimes you can't even find a spot. So I think we're on the right track, and we need to continue to look for opportunities to bring in small businesses like 1811, like the new botanical that's going in. My mom at one point had a store there called the Kitchenery. So that's going to be an ever-changing thing, and we'll continue to work towards growth. Thank you.
I think that Central School is a huge opportunity for us. I like the way that it's currently zoned for the ballot, to bring in some local businesses, whether it be restaurants, what have you, but also keep that part of Arlington so that it stays residential, so that I can access traffic through their neighborhood. I do think that whenever I go out with my wife and kids to eat, we have not a hard time, but it gets pretty tough sometimes to have to wait for places to eat. I would love to see maybe one restaurant go in there. I think it's a really beautiful spot that's like a gateway to our town, and a lot of people would see that. Now there is some issues with traffic coming in and out because of where it's situated, 82, that could be worked out with that little Highland extension right there. But I would love to see something that really keeps our downtown like that, bring in some small businesses, but also bring in a restaurant or two, just because we do have a demand for that. Whenever I go out, I see it pretty often. So I would love to see that on top of the way it's currently zoned on the ballot, should that pass.
With respect to economic development, we all know Valor Acres, but looking at the center of the city, we're very active in encouraging businesses and helping them get their start in town. It's very important to distinguish that the city does not select any business that sets up shop in our town. We merely open the doors, encourage them, and help them. With respect to Central School, I think the single most important thing is that the city is going to take this to the ballot. In other words, let the voters have a say in how this is developed, because there's a lot of good opinions, but some of them are conflicting with each other. So, I think it's important to do this transparently. I think it's important to facilitate new businesses in town that is healthy, but keep in mind, the city doesn't select them. Thanks.
Thank you. The economic portion of downtown, the walking portion of downtown, I think it's best served when you have more than one reason to stop. You want to park, you want to go to a restaurant and a store, or get your hair cut and then go out to lunch. So we really need to focus on attracting businesses that will allow that to happen. Parking is a major topic of conversation. We do have ample parking for everything downtown. I'm hoping that we can tweak it so that it provides one central place to park so that you have that opportunity to walk to more than one place. I do think we need to, with whatever happens at Central School, focus on traffic. We really do need to keep that as a priority as we decide what's going to go there. So thank you.
Thank you. It's a big question. It's appropriately on the heels of the master plan, which has a lot of information on there and how we can encourage and foster economic development. It's true that we can't select which specific businesses come, but as Mr. Caruso alluded to, there are economic development programs that allow us to offer incentives to bring specific business in. And we've used those in the past, and Mr. Caruso, I'm sure, is aware of that. We gave Caruso Coffee $160,000 to retain them here in this community because of the services they offer and what they contribute to our tax base. So we do have some ability to influence that. Speaking to Central School, I'm going to run short on time for this, but there are programs, if we can get the Central School building added to the National Park Service Registry of Historic Places, that will unlock parts of the federal tax code to bring huge incentives and investment dollars to preserve the facade of that building, rehab the interior, get rid of any lead paint, asbestos, structural issues that need to be addressed, and renovate the entire interior of that without using taxpayer dollars. So that's something I'd love to expand on in the future when we've got an opportunity.
I can reply, that was mentioned directly.
Yes.
Thank you. In 2017, we acquired a new piece of business that required more space for storing inventory. We had an option. We could buy the building on Miller and keep our company in Brecksville, or I had found a building in Strongsville. My father was the sole owner of the business at that time. He is still the sole owner of the buildings. We approached the city. The money that we were awarded through economic development allowed us to refinance the building on Snowville and rolled into one mortgage. We committed to staying in the city for 10 years. We committed to increasing jobs by a minimum of 6. We far surpassed that. And the company made back the $160,000 in less than 4 years because of our payroll expansion and job growth. So, yes, we did it. It's a great example of how Mayor Ruby's approach to economic development works. I'm proud of that legacy, and I will help continue that legacy to attract businesses like DiGiorno, like Sherwin-Williams, like Physicians Ambulance. I voted in favor of those economic packages. I'll do it 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. Thank you.
Question again? Yes. What is your plan to bolster economic development in Brecksville, especially downtown with Central School property and other areas?
Okay, so I think Mark hit the nail on the head with this, that the city doesn't select the businesses that are here. It's individual property owners, and this is what I do. I'm a landlord's rep in my daily life. I attract tenants to spaces that my company represents. So I believe that I have skill set that can add value here, and I think these financial incentives are very, very important. These tax incentives encourage businesses to invest in the city, and I think we should keep doing that and promoting that, because that will get us fantastic ads to the city and increase our tax bases. As for Central School, this issue is on the ballot, so I think that we'll see what the electorate wants. And I think that it's essential to engage in these conversations, especially directly with the residents living in close proximity, like Old Town. I want to champion the vision of the residents surrounding it, and also ensure that development in this area is aligned with the distinctive character of Brecksville. So I think it's important to balance. This balance in growth and preservation is crucial, and that's where I stand.
out will be Mr. Geyer, who's starting. And the question is, if elected, how would you be available for the residents to provide input and ask questions?
Well, I live obviously in Brecksville, but also work in Brecksville, so whether it be on my lunch or any other time coming to or from work, I can usually make myself pretty available for in-person, phone call, late night, email, what have you. I do think that as both mayoral candidates have kind of committed to rechanging the web, or fixing up and editing our website, that putting a form on there where Brecksville residents could directly reply to people would make it a lot easier than having to go find emails. And that way it could be directed to proper people, whether it's a service head, a city council person, or wherever. Just a kind of proactive approach to it, really making it easier for them to provide feedback to the people who represent them and service them in the city. I'm always available all the time. I have my cell phone even on the website, brecksville.com. But working in Brecksville is super nice because I can just drive right down on a lunch break and meet with somebody or talk with them. So I'm always available. That's the answer.
I also work out of my home here in Brecksville. I'm infinitely available. If you don't see me riding a bike down the street, you can reach me by phone most any time. If I don't answer it, I'll get back to you. I think you can look back at my time on the school board. I was willing to engage with people in open forum as well as meeting them whenever they had a time. A lot of folks took advantage of that opportunity, and I appreciated it because I learned a lot of things through those conversations. So I just encourage people to reach out to whomever is on board.
This one's easy. I am available. I am always here in Brecksville. I have, my information is currently on the city council website. My information is open on my page for campaign as well. It's AnnKoepke4Council.com. I am in the schools. I am in the Human Services Center. I see people regularly as I walk and as I shop. And you can always come to me and ask me to tell you what's going on or ask me a question and how I can help you, and I will definitely do so. You can get me by phone or email. A lot of people actually will DM me. However you get a hold of me, I will respond. Thank you.
I just want to start by saying that it wasn't a criticism. That economic program that we have is fabulous, and it's an example of success. So it wasn't a criticism, it's just we do have tools available to us that work very well. In terms of availability, I think I've demonstrated that through the symposium. Those of you who are on it know I've even gotten myself maybe in trouble by being a little too available. But it's important. We've got a lot of change of leadership coming to the city, as Mr. Bender referenced in his opening statement. We're going to need city council members to dedicate full-time energies, more than they have had to in the past, to support a new mayor. We're going to have a lot of new faces on city council. We've got a relatively new police chief. We're going to have a new service director. Ms. Bartos is doing a fabulous job, but she's new to the role as well. I mean, she's really doing a bang-up job. She's contributed a tremendous amount to our recent wins. And I'm prepared to do that. I'm prepared to dedicate full-time energy to serving this city and responding to residents and making sure that we chart an appropriate, responsible path forward for the community.
You meant Ms. Barkowitz, not me. That's
I'm sorry.
But I will take the compliment.
You'll do a great job too.
But I had to give credit where credit's due, Monica. You have done an amazing job. Okay, so communication-wise, I am available. I have my phone on 24/7. I have email access 24/7. I feel that I'm approachable. I'm out and about in the community. Probably see me at the rec center, at the pool with my kids. I coach cheerleading for kindergarten. I'm at the football games. I'm out in the community, and I really want to be a person that is approachable, that you can feel like you can come and talk to me. And I want to be as transparent as possible and here to talk to you and listen to you as we represent you, the community. So that's it. I will be available. I will strive to do that.
Well, if there's one silver lining that came out of COVID is that we got federal funds that allowed us to retrofit council chambers with cameras. So we now live stream every single meeting, commission, planning, zoning, council meetings, rec board meetings. So I encourage the residents to take advantage of that. I was a strong supporter of the use of funds. I will continue to advocate that we continue that practice indefinitely. My cell phone is in the bulletin, it's on the website, please call me, I'm available 24/7. I live, work, and for the most part, play in Brecksville, so I'm always available to the residents. I think the residents that have interacted with me when they've had issues in the city, they have found me to be responsive, good with follow-up, and professional. I treat my job with the city with a lot of respect. I take a lot of pride in working for the residents, and I love this community, and I am always available. Many of you have emailed me over the years, and I've tried my best to get back to you with accurate information. If I don't know something, I'll tell you, and I'll try and get the right answer. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jantzen gets this question to begin with. In 2015, Republican Governor John Kasich created the Ohio Collaborative Community Police Advisory Board. This board was tasked with producing statewide minimum standards for best policing practices, with the expectation that all police agencies in the state of Ohio would meet these standards. Brecksville Police Department does not meet these minimum standards. All neighboring police departments, including Broadview Heights, Independence, and North Royalton, do meet these standards. If elected, will you take active steps to ensure that the Brecksville Police Department moves toward meeting the standards of the Ohio Collaborative Community Police Advisory Board?
First of all, I don't know why they do not meet the standards. I'll find out. Second thing is, I'm really proud of our police department. They do their job every day. They do it courteously. They do it efficiently. They do it professionally. I have no problem with the way our police force operates in our community.
I can echo Mr. Janssen's statement. I'm very proud of our police and fire. I think they do a remarkable job, and it's obvious how much they care for everybody and this community. I, again, am not familiar with this collaborative. I do not know why we don't meet the standards. I'm sorry that I don't, but I will find out, and I will see why. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is an easy one. The Brecksville Police Department is a shining star of our community and part of the bedrock foundation that makes us successful. I'm not familiar with why we're not meeting the standard. I'm sure that in spirit we are, and if there are specific goals or metrics or something we need to do to further support them so they can continue to be as successful as they have, we should be doing that. I imagine it's probably something simple like that where we're meeting the objective in spirit, but perhaps something we need to do to support them a little bit further. But I think they do a fabulous job. I've had the opportunity to interact with them a number of times on small questions or things like that, and they've just always been incredibly professional and a credit to the service. In my opinion, they set the gold standard that other communities should be looking to Brecksville to see what it is that we do so right so that they can learn from the things that we're getting right. If there are little areas we need to support them or something we're not giving them, then let's do that. But they do a fabulous job.
So I too am unfamiliar with that, the best policy and standards, and I'm not sure why they don't meet that, but I will find out. Our police are the gold standard. They're absolutely fabulous, and any support that they do need, I will make sure that we get it.
I wasn't aware of the standard, and so I will find out and get some information on that. I would ditto what a lot of the other candidates have said. Chief Stan is the epitome of professionalism. He's former military, former SWAT. He's done a great job for retired Chief Bill Goodrich. I find that our police department is professional, they're well-trained, they're well-equipped, they're well-staffed. I think a perfect example is when we hosted the second largest BLM event in our downtown. The only one larger was downtown Cleveland. Not a single window was broken, no one needed to be arrested, no one was hurt. That includes not only the police officers, but also the protesters. So I think that is one outstanding example of just how professional and well-trained our police are, how they consistently conduct themselves in a manner that we should all be proud of and supportive of. Thank you.
Well, this sounds like an echo chamber because I'm just going to say what everyone else is saying. But our police do an amazing job. I see them around town all the time, wave to them. I've seen them actually when I was out running one time. My headlight went out when I was coming right down by my house. It was getting a little dark, so I turned back. They stopped and gave me a reflective vest that was part of an Ohio-based program to make sure people were safe out in the streets. And I thought it was pretty safe, but I just appreciate them going that much further to look after another Brecksville resident. And anything they need to meet a standard to take care of them, I think it's on the table to make sure that they meet those standards.
Okay, Ann, you want to start? question. What are your thoughts about changing the charter to have term limits for the mayor and council?
The easy answer is there was a group of representatives of everybody sitting out here that just went through a review of our charter, and they took feedback from everybody and did not find that they wanted to put it on the ballot. Now, does that mean that's my own personal opinions? No. But I respect everybody going to vote on it, and it's not on there this time because it was not warranted at this point. I do not see myself staying for 40 years. I do think that I'm going to do the best that I know I'm going to do the best that I can when I am reelected. I do my best at all times, and I believe, I hope that people will tell me when it's time to go. Thank you.
I hear this talked about periodically within the community, and just to talk about maybe the elephant in the room, I think that conversation is often targeted at Mayor Ruby, who served for a very long time. A couple things on that. If you watch the Charter Review Commission meetings, you would know that even if we passed them today and Mayor Ruby were interested and able to continue serving, his clock would start at 0. So if we had 3 mayoral terms, he would be eligible for 12 more years. For his detractors, that wouldn't have had any impact on that. I understand, as somebody who's something of an outsider in the campaign last time, bringing a fresh perspective to the table. I understand when folks are frustrated, they feel like they're not being heard, they're not being listened to by our incumbents or longtime incumbents, that they think that's maybe a way to force them out. That's what we have elections for. At the end of the day, I think term limits, they just feel a little undemocratic, especially in a small community where we don't have always a full 8 candidates running for 4 seats. So I oppose term limits for that reason. We can vote people out if we feel like they're not doing a great job.
After they finish this question, switch it.
So I actually sat on the Charter Review Commission. I spent the last year of my life reviewing the charter inside and out. This was one of the topics that we discussed. We ultimately decided that there are limits to your term. You run for re-election. So if you are not liked, if you're not doing a great job, vote for somebody else. So we didn't feel that we had to put that in the charter because term limits are your next election. So the electorate can vote you out if they don't want you.
Thank you. I agree with the Charter Review's findings. I don't think we need term limits for mayor or council. Just in the past 8 years, the entire city council has turned over. We're now going to have a new mayor, and I think that elections matter, and it's more important that the residents get the chance to decide who their next mayor is going to be every 4 years. I don't think it needs to be predetermined by our charter. We're a relatively small community. It's hard enough to find good candidates that want to put themselves out in the public eye. And so if we have a good one with experience that's doing a good job, I think it should be up to us to decide whether we want to keep them in that position or not. I don't think it should be determined by a document. While I have a lot of respect for our city charter, I agree with the review board that it didn't need to go on the ballot this time. Thank you.
Term limits are a double-edged sword. Just taking some notes or thoughts I had as thinking about this, and I can see why people might want that because they do want to see some turnover. But that's why you go and inform people, educate them, and take an informed stance. With that too, I know from people who work in the State House, term limits also have a negative side of that means somebody else has to replace that person, and it could be worse than who's currently in there, which means you need to go find somebody else to take that mantle, whether it be something like mayor or city council. Or if there's somebody who has an outside interest that really wants to try and bring a business in or get some sort of tax credit, they could throw campaign contributions to somebody to help get them in office. So for that reason, at a city of our size, I'm just generally opposed to term limits as it is currently.
I think the Charter Review reached the right conclusion. I think term limits are unnecessary in a city of 13,500 people with 5,400 households. We get the chance to vote on our elected officials. The real message is vote.
An option for community facilities to be eligible to go in that space. So yes, we're voting on it, but the choice that's put in front of us doesn't represent all of our options. And I think if we had done a better job listening and formatting how we vote on those things, we would have put a number of options on the ballot so we had true choice. I think that's true of Valerie Acres as well. The symposium is my effort from an outsider's perspective to create sort of a digital public square for us in the community to have these discussions. And I know our elected officials pay attention to the conversations there. As much as that forum frustrates them at times, I know it provides a valuable service to them. They do pay attention. So we, as a community, need to keep those conversations going and continue to listen to residents first.
So I have attended city council meetings since I decided to run for the last few months. And I don't see a lot of people at these council meetings, and there are opportunities to be heard. So I think we do need to educate people that come to council meetings, come to public hearings, because there are public hearings on a lot of these issues that are very important. I think that participation, we need to publicize and educate the importance of that, and that's a great place to get your voice heard. I plan on being, like we said, answering the last question, I plan on being very approachable and open. And if anybody has any issues on anything, I do want to hear that, because what we champion and what we promote, what we do, comes directly from the people that we represent. It should be important to you and impactful to you, and your decisions should have effect on everything.
I think the input of residents is extremely important. The gentleman who managed part of that process with Central School, we started having public meetings that residents were invited to and selected to be part of that committee. We got a lot of feedback, created a whole list of options and things to consider, and that feedback is always considered with great interest by City Council and the Planning Commission. Ultimately, we get elected to narrow down that list of wants and try and make decisions that are in the best interest of the city. Central was tough because we put it out to bid during COVID, and we ended up rejecting the two proposals that we got. We now have rezoning that's going on the ballot, and then we'll put it out for bid. And we're hoping that the response, with less uncertainty due to the pandemic, that we'll get some positive feedback from developers and some good ideas. And again, we'll listen to the residents and take that into account, and then make the decisions that we think are in the best interest of the city and the community as a whole. Thank you.
So there's an analogy I like to always use in my profession called an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I really feel that when it comes to things, anything, major project going on in the city, there's issues you can't always disclose for whatever reasons. But you can reach out and say, hey, we have somebody looking at this, what are your thoughts? What matters to you, the citizens who are most effective? Whether it be in Old Town with Central Schools, Westview with Valerie Acres, whatever projects are going on. The Board of Zoning Appeals already has that, where like, hey, do we have letters from your neighbors? What are their thoughts? Are there any complaints, any issues? And I think taking that sort of approach really matters when big projects go on. And we already have some ways of doing that in our city. But I think being proactive as possible is huge with that. And so it's just simple as an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. But I can't speak too much on the Planning Commission because I don't sit on it. So I don't want to put any words in their mouth.
In business, whether it's a small one with 50 people in one location or a large one with thousands on 3 continents, communication is always a challenge. Every time you think you're communicating enough, you're not even halfway there. So the attendance in today's forum is many times greater than in any public meeting I've ever been in. How do we get more people involved? Are there chances to become more proactive? Sure. But ultimately, it takes involvement from constituency, from our 13,500 residents. And I think encouraging that is the starting place.
I believe that we as representatives need to do more to communicate. I do feel that we do, as a city, tend to be reactive, which is the nature of problems. You have a problem, you let us know, and we solve it. As far as getting information to you, I think we can do a better job at being proactive at that. Whether it's updating our website or creating different ways to communicate, we just need to do a better job at that. I also think as far as large projects, we might consider bringing in a professional group to help facilitate public information sessions so that we get that feedback from our residents. I think we did a great job with the Valerie Acre listening sessions, but I think just having a group in that can advertise it more and help would be very much appreciated.
I'm going to combine a couple of questions here. They have to do with the impact of the city and its development on the metro parks, the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and the development of environmental preservation. How do you see that as part of the development of the city? Well, okay, it was a little, because I'm combining. How would you balance development with environmental preservation and making sure that the city works to cooperate with the metro parks, the Cuyahoga Valley National Park?
That's a great question. I think collaborative approaches and balancing the needs and listening to everybody's wants and needs, and then moving in a direction that best fits the project. So kind of moving through, because she combined a few questions, so it's kind of hard to answer that big scope question. So if it was a specific project, I'd sit down with each of the heads of Metro Park, Cuyahoga Valley, the city, see what people need, what people's wants are needs, balancing all of those wants and needs, making sure we're mindful of the environmental presentation and taking a collaborative approach holistically and come to the best solution that would benefit everyone.
I think the parks are a big reason a lot of us moved to Brecksville or have chosen to come back and raise our families here in Brecksville. It's, I think, our greatest resource. I think projects like the one that's in the works to connect Old Station Road to downtown is going to drive traffic from people that are enjoying the park towards the city, and so you've got a situation where the park and that connectivity is driving economic benefits to our business owners in town. Our recycling program, the cost has gone through the roof, yet we have managed to find ways in the budget to keep that a free program for our residents. I'm a strong supporter of continuing that practice. Our new service director has shared with us some potential programs that I think, if re-elected, we're planning to look into that would allow us to add some sensible solar use throughout some of the city buildings in a way that would save us money on electricity without causing us to have to take resources away from other important programs in the city. So we're always looking for ways to work with the parks. I think the connection with the Valley Parkway is another great example of where we're doing that. Thank you.
Again, that's a great question. As somebody who really enjoys the outdoors, preserving it is very important to me. I do think that with some of the Cuyahoga County tree canopy programs and things like that, increasing tree plantings in certain areas to help reduce flooding, suck up the water so it doesn't result in people's basements would be one step we could take with that. But as development does happen, we need to make sure that things are zoned appropriately for the area, and that obviously then goes to the electorate to vote on. But I know with some of the developments we've seen the developers come in with a large number of homes and scale it back quite a bit. Making sure our city engineer is, and Mr. Wise does a great job of that, staying on top of it to just ensure that there's not going to be flooding issues, that it's really hard when it comes to moving water, directing it the right way. And that's something that's going to impact everybody, especially if you're downhill. So I think there's a lot of things we can do to preserve that using other programs that are out there and funding. But that's just off the top of my head, trying to answer the question directly.
This is a great place to live, largely because of the parks that we do have available to us, both county and national. I think they're our neighbors. We all enjoy them. We do take care of them. We've had projects in the city that have benefited or been in collaboration with the parks, south side of Route 82 most recently with some of the septic runoff issues and the money that the city is having to invest to do exactly that. I think that I've enjoyed the parks. My kids have. It's a great relationship so far, and I just would like to continue that.
So 1/3 of Brecksville, roughly, is park. And I think in order for us to cooperate with them, we need to sit down and listen to what their goals are and see how they overlap with ours. Once we see where our common connection is, those are great ways for us to better work with them to achieve mutually beneficial options. I do think our economic development director is doing a great job in securing grants for us and to show the opportunities in which we can better connect our residents physically to those park systems. And I think we have an opportunity here to, really create a destination for not the general public, but specifically the people here in Brecksville. And for us to get to the part that brought us here. We all love the parks.
So I know there were a few questions combined into one, so I'll try to touch on the right ones. There's a lot we can do to be good partners to the parks. I know that they've been a great asset to us in Brecksville. I suppose the question is, have we been a great partner to them? We should go to them, and again, it all starts with listening first and coming to the table and getting together with an open mind and asking them, hey, what can we do to support you? You're a real asset to Brecksville. Our community really benefits from these parks, and we want to make sure that we're giving back to you in the same spirit that you're giving to us. Are there connections that we can make that draw people from the parks into Brecksville that maybe result in them bringing their litter with them and helping them leave no trace behind as they make good use of the parks? Other environmental things, I mean, EV charging stations, those are coming onto the market. Not everybody loves them, but some people are really passionate about that. Let's encourage that and make that an opportunity. And then solar panels need to be revisited. We talked about that last forum 2 years ago and just been no progress.
Mr. Caruso,
Yes.
can you explain what the choice is in the central school rezoning on the November ballot?
Yeah, so the choices with the rezoning will involve how the residential component is developed, the size and scope of the types of homes, so that we keep it consistent with what else is already there in Old Town. It also allows for some mixed use, which could be, a variety of business type options, whether it's retail or office. So again, it's a way for us to manage what the developers are allowed to do in that space, in a way that'll hopefully benefit the city from an economic standpoint, but also, have some control over what goes in. But ultimately, we'll see what the developers submit. We'll review those plans. Everything goes through planning. It's not approved by planning or recommended by planning. It won't even make it to council, and so we'll have some control over how that gets redeveloped. Thank you.
You pretty much answered for me there, 'cause it's a pretty black and white question, so thank you. There was some overlays with that too as well, but yeah, it's a pretty black and white question, and you answered it really well, so I don't have a lot to add to that otherwise.
Thank you, Eric.
Central School is the last parcel we have in the center of our city that could be potentially developed commercially. In other words, mixed-use development. So that's why it's going to the populace for a vote this November. There's traffic issues, there's Old Town issues, there's a lot of stakeholders that have interests in how this is developed. This is going to be a very publicly discussed issue, and it's going to be pretty taxing for both the Planning Commission and also the next council.
I believe the question was, what are our options? And the options are either to vote against the changes, which keeps everything at community facilities, which it currently is, or to change so there is residential along Arlington and a mixed-use option for the property that is facing ED2. There is a concern over traffic. I think that is one of my biggest worries. The placement of the building, do we keep at the original building that's there? And it is a little far back for a lot of retail opportunity, which some people want and some don't. That communication needs to be there. But if we do want to change it so that it can have a different opportunity to be used, then we need to have those options. So right now, community facilities, we are at the drawing board. Again, if this does not pass, then we need to come back and figure out what it is that we can use it for just as the city, which I don't know is everybody's best option. Ran out of time.
I I think in terms of what our options are, with this vote coming up in November, that question's been answered very well. So I'll use a little bit of time just to expand on that federal program for historic building preservation tax credits. What that program would do would allow us again to preserve the facade of the building, which I think is a really charming entranceway as you come into Brecksville. It'd be very expensive, but that program allows us to bring in private investment dollars through federal tax credits, not Brecksville taxpayer dollars, to preserve that facade and entirely renovate the inside of that building to anything we could imagine. At times I put out deliberately obscure and absurd things just to illustrate the point that you could put in go-kart racing. Not suggesting that we do that, but you could put in anything you can imagine into that space through private investment that we could bring in to our town. So that's something I think we should really pursue. I think it'd be great to have, a barbecue restaurant, an Irish pub, a craft beer place with shared patio dining, so we had outdoor dining space, and I'm out of time.
Okay, there are many questions.
You missed part of this.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, you answered it perfectly. I don't have to add any more to that. But I think this will give people an insight of what voters want for this property. So this being on the ballot is very important because it will shed some light on what the citizens want. And I think that's important when we look at visions for the projects. Because you can say, oh, I want this, I want that, I want that. But what the citizens really want is very important. So I think this will help the city to move forward in the direction that it should go.
Okay, so this will be the last question. And there's so many left that we could ask, but we can't go on forever. It's about sidewalks and expansion of sidewalks. How do you see that happening? How would you make decisions on how to decide where the new sidewalks would go?
I think the easiest way to decide where sidewalks need to go is focusing on where there is demand and foot traffic already. Obviously, we hear a lot about Oaks Road wanting them, and I think that that's a place we really need to look at and evaluate. We obviously have eminent domain issues and things like that too when it comes to the private property. So there's a lot of issues with just that general logistics of it, making sure things drain right. But also trying to find areas that are just generally safer and dangerous. I live off Fitzwater Road on Oak Ridge Circle, and there's some turns there that are really bad. The first one specifically is right by a bunch of businesses. Putting something in there to really help make it safer for people who want to frequent those businesses if they want to walk. And then there's long straightaways from there after that. Oaks Road, though, is one that I want to talk about. I think connecting it down to Highland makes the most sense, as best you can. It might just be on one side. It's also really tough to do that because you also have major drainage issues and things like that. The south end town of Mississauga, where I work, is one of the key focuses. I'm glad to see we got money for that too. And that's what I would really want to see a lot put in there and make it nice for all of the business community. Run out of time to talk about all the sidewalk stuff, but respectfully pass it on.
Good question, because it brings up the point of mandatory projects and discretionary projects. Number one is we have to continue providing the services, whether they be police, fire, senior services, rec center. Those are the things we're committed to doing on a continuing basis. When we look at our budget, whatever that is in the future, then we have discretionary projects. People have favorites. If we went around this room, I'm sure we'd get a lot, and they would be different. So it's the board, it's the council's job to start filtering through those. And the answer is, with respect to sidewalks, we can't do it all. There is not enough money in the city of Brecksville to put a sidewalk everywhere. So we're going to have to pick our points, and it's going to please some people, it's going to displease others, but it's got to be done with a priority system and transparently.
With the priorities in mind, I think it would be best to start with connecting areas that already have sidewalks to areas that already have sidewalks. Those easy connections to create neighborhood connectivity would be a good starting point. I also think it's important to connect the areas that are community facilities. I would love to see a way that you could walk from downtown to Blossom. We already have sidewalks that will take us as far as Oaks Road up Highland. So making that connection from Highland to Blossom, which will be getting sidewalks on their own due to a grant that we recently received. Thank you. And there are opportunities to create connectivity from a large portion of the area, thank you, behind Blossom. We can connect over 600 homes with a mile of sidewalk to Blossom, which connects to the elementary school, which will then also connect to Geyer Acres. Those options are there. I think that's a great starting point.
I agree pretty much with everything the previous candidates have said on this question. I'm disappointed to see this one become so polarized in this community. We should continue to make incremental progress on all of our infrastructure. That's just part of responsibly managing a city. It's going to require constant investment. The master plan is a great tool here. They've done the studies for us. They've mapped where we have sidewalks, where we don't, where traffic patterns are, where pedestrian traffic patterns are. We can use that data and leverage that to our benefit. It's not going to get all done overnight. We don't need gold-plated sidewalks on both sides of every street in Brecksville, but we need to continue to develop that infrastructure to keep pace with the growth of our community. We want our children to be safe as they go to and from school, as they go to the field house, as they go to Boston Hill for all sorts of other community events. But it is discretionary dollars, and we need to be responsible with which discretionary projects we pick. And I know we're about to run out of time. Penny, I don't know if we can get the questions that don't get answered, but I'd love to get those to the candidates so that we can, talk about them on the campaign trail.
So connectivity is absolutely important, but also being fiscally responsible is important as well. And I think we need to, when we're looking at connectivity, we need to remain proactive when we're looking at grants and available funding. The city's done a fantastic job of doing that. I also think we need to look into adding sidewalks when infrastructure projects are underway. And also resident input is also important to make sure that we're addressing the needs of the community. We're looking into connectivity.
I think as we have been doing, any opportunities we had to fix what's under the ground and then expand what's on the ground is the best way to do it. I think what we're doing on 82 and Chippewa and Calvin Drive is a perfect example of that. Next year that'll get repaved and sidewalks will be added, and you can see where they've widened the street to account for that. I think continued cooperation with the park to look for sensible ways to connect is a good practice that we should continue. I think we should not focus just only on sidewalks, but also on the use of multi-use trails and whatever iteration that could come about. To Mark's point, some of these are discretionary spending, but again, when we do have projects that we're getting grant support with or that have been budgeted as part of the road program, if it makes sense to add sidewalks and it's possible and we're not violating property rights with people, I think we look to continue to do that. And unfortunately, there are going to be some areas in town that just won't get sidewalks. It's not possible. So that's it. Thanks.
Okay, it will take me a little bit of time to get these other questions to you, but I will make sure they're all emailed to you. Now, we now have the opportunity for you all to make your closing remarks. So we'll be starting with Koepke.
As my nerves subside, it's time to end. So I thank you for listening. I laugh that I can get up in front of 50 kids as I substitute and sing along with them in a music class, but I get here with my peers and I'm nervous. I think that's just because I care so much that I want to do my best for you. And that is my goal. I'm always here to listen and to find out what I need to know and to do what's best for everybody. I appreciate the opportunity that I've had over these last 4 years. I do, again, hope that I have that opportunity once more to represent you. Thank you.
And Ms. Bartos.
So I want to express my gratitude for the opportunity to engage in this meaningful roundtable discussion. It's clear that our community is filled with dedicated individuals who care deeply about our city's future. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing and hosting this event. Your dedication to fostering informed civic engagement is invaluable, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this discussion. I hope I was able to convey to you my strengths, my commitments, my skill set, and the way that I can add value to City Council. I believe my strong knowledge of the Charter, my unique combination of legal and real estate experience, advocacy skills, and understanding of this community will make me a valuable addition to Council. I'm committed to the principles of attentive listening, continuous learning, and effective collaboration. The prospect of serving and representing this community would be a deeply humbling privilege. My dedication to hard work and service is unwavering, and I'm confident that my professional and personal experience will bring added value and a unique perspective to benefit our city and its residents. Thank you.
Mr. Caruso?
Thank you. Being on City Council has been a very humbling and very rewarding experience for me. I was born and raised in this community. I have deep roots in this community. My business is in this community. And I'm raising my family here. So last 4 years I ran on a tagline, Brecksville needs evolution, not revolution. I think those words still ring true today. I'm very proud of my voting record on council. There's not a single vote that I've made that I would take back or change or wish I had handled differently. I have enjoyed being part of council's leadership as vice president. I hope to continue in some fashion in either a vice president or president role, hopefully. And I look forward to working with the next administration to ensure that Brecksville continues to improve and grow and continue to be a safe place where we want to raise our children with excellent schools, where we're maintaining our property values. My decision making is based on what I think is best for Brecksville. I don't bring personal agenda or political axe to grind. And I just ask for your support this fall because I like the job. I actually love the job, and I hope to continue in the job. Thank you.
Next is Mr. Schadler.
I want to close by thanking you, Penny, the League of Women Voters, and everyone who has taken the time to tune into the discussion today, and those of you here in the room. I also want to thank the candidates. Running isn't easy, and it takes courage to put yourself out there, as we all have. Democracy demands choice, and without a field of candidates to choose from, residents wouldn't have the opportunity to make their voices heard. All of the candidates here today are running because they care about Brecksville's future. We have our differences, but I believe we are more alike than different. I know that whoever ends up on council will work hard in a respectful, collaborative spirit to responsibly shepherd Brecksville into the future. Our city's leadership team is going through a lot of change right now. We have a new police chief, service director, planning director, school superintendent, and soon a new mayor and several new faces on council and school board. Yet Brecksville's future has never looked brighter. We will continue to thrive if we elect smart, principled leaders who are humble enough to listen first and then lead with integrity. Those are values that were instilled in me as an Eagle Scout, and I live them daily. Eric, I know you're a fellow Eagle Scout, so shout out to you, and I understand what that says about you and your character. I have a passion for service to others. I believe all the candidates have that in common. Mr. Jantzen, your military service speaks for itself. I have family who I've served and continue to serve today, so I understand the sacrifice, and I thank you for your service. And I've been watching city council meetings closely for a few years now, and I see how hard you've been working behind the scenes. We've all stepped up one way or another to give, when given the chance, whether that's serving on things like a commission or school or as council, as some here have had the opportunity to do. Or as I have as a volunteer firefighter, regular volunteer at my kids' school here in Brecksville, serving as the president of my HOA the past few years, or any of the other many ways I've worked to pitch in and help strengthen this community we all love. I'm honored to find myself running in a field of candidates that have that same passion for others. I'd be humbled to have you vote this November and represent you on City Council. I know that I would make you very proud. I trust you, the residents of Brecksville, to show up in November and across the board elect leaders who will honor the trust you place in them. Thank you for taking the time to get to know us.
Mr. Geyer?
All right. First, I want to start by thanking the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. I think forums like this are super important so you can directly see and compare the candidates, and making an informed decision is of the utmost importance in each election cycle, especially since we have major changes coming both in City Council and in the Mayor's office. Thank you everyone for attending too. I really like seeing some faces, even though, especially all the familiar ones in the crowd here. It makes me feel more comfortable. But with that, I really think that I'm dedicated to I'm committed to serving the citizens of Brecksville. I've got little kids here. I reflect on what a lot of the other residents look like in their lives, the busy, hectic lives that we have as we try to raise a family when we move here, whether we stay here, whatever it is. That being said, I think that Brecksville is one gem of a city, and that we just, keep working on that polish and shine to make it the best it possibly could be. I think it is the best suburb. That's why me and my wife chose it, of Cleveland and in Northeast Ohio. I think that we just gotta keep it ahead and keep pushing it to be the best it possibly can be. Always strive for perfection when you have a city that's this great. I'm really focused on working on things that are pretty, easy to get along with as far as they're bipartisan, I should say. There shouldn't be a whole lot of debate about them. One of my topics I would love to see to make our city that much safer is putting a drug take-back bin in the police station. I think that helps serve the older folks who get rid of medications that they have a lot, helps keep young kids safe from overdosing in case they stumble on something, whether in your home or somebody else's home. And programs like that. I'm really focused on what helps keep our city safe, serves our city, the needs we have, and the residents of it. I truly believe that if you look at my website here, Brecksville.com, you'll agree with my prescription for success. And with that, thank you for attending tonight.
Always good back cleanup. I'd like to thank everybody again for their time today. It's been a real pleasure being here. The tagline, building on the foundation, is not an empty one. I think our city is doing great. I think I've been around the block maybe one or two times more than my colleagues up here. But what it's taught me is that there's never a shortage of collaboration, a need for collaboration and contribution. I think that people come in with good ideas. I've learned a long time ago that seldom has it been that I walked in the room with the idea, but when I go in the room, I've gotten fairly good at helping to ask the questions to get to those good ideas and help prioritize the things. And I think that experience combined with being vested in the community is going to allow me to serve you well, and I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
I want to thank all the candidates for being so cooperative and just going so smoothly. Rather than send you the questions, I'm going to send you the topics because the questions were kind of repetitive. So I will send you the topics that people were interested in that we didn't get a chance to talk about. And I want to thank Jan Koepke, the students from Cuyahoga Valley Career Center, and the students from the Brecksville Broadview Heights High School who have participated today and helped out so much. I hope you will all come back tomorrow and bring a friend because we have the mayoral candidates tomorrow at 7 p.m. And we will have Pam Smith, who is another experienced moderator from the League of Women Voters. She will be the moderator for that event. So, but I'll be here, so I'm hoping to see you all again. Thank you very much for coming.